Right. So my next topic, and it's the real culture topic, is violence. It's violence. I promised on my last show last week that I was going to be really diving into some of the issues around Chicago violence and hopefully inform it. I mean, it may be some things that you already think and that you already know, but let's confirm some things and let us just start having authentic conversations about the issues that we really hope over the years. I think most of us hope that it would just cease and go away. But at this point in time, I think that we just need all hands on deck, right? We just have to get in there and do the work that needs to be done to eradicate some of this violence. And we're working towards eradicating it in our communities, looking at how poverty encourages violence. And a lot of us live outside of the communities, but that doesn't mean that what they go through is not a part of who we are. In effect, some of the things that we can do and wanting to enjoy the city, and enjoy the city of Chicago. I'm from Inglewood. I want to go back. I like to go back to Inglewood and just reminisce and things like that. And we should be able to do that. We should be able to go back and reminisce and go to our old neighborhoods and our own old communities and see whatever. We'll get into the rest of that at some point. I want to talk about that too, investing in those communities, but we'll get to that later. So my point of addressing the violence and poverty today is because we have to stop the narrative that violence is the fault of the people wrapped in the nuances of it. Violence is a symptom of poverty. That's period. That is just what it is. It's a symptom of poverty. And we have to stop blaming the people that are caught up in it, caught up in the because it's a public health crisis. It's the people caught up in it. We can't blame them for the situation that they're in. So in January of 2019, a group of researchers from and I wrote this, I just want to put it out there. I'm not reading another writers or reporters stuff. I wrote this. So if you hear facts, then that's a possibility it came from an organization that collects data or something like that. But if it's anything, any content, if someone else wrote it, I'll let you know. But this I wrote. So in January 2019, a group of researchers from the University of Illinois at Chicago, Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville, Northwestern University, and Northeastern Illinois University convened in a conference at the University of Illinois at Chicago, a Great Cities Institute on the fracturing of gangs and violence in Chicago. So what they convened about was a research-based reorientation of violence prevention and intervention policy. They concluded, during their research that gangs might not address the issue on the South Side as much as the West Side. But overall, although gangs are a factor, they may not be at the root of gun violence homicide as much as, listen, disinvestment and lack of economic development. They believe gangs are changing, but violence prevention and strategies have not. And so, even with that, there were some suggestions laid out. Let me get to it. Let me get to it. Dead air. None of that, right? So the suggestions that they have put in place in this particular policy or study, and the blog is actually on the blog. What I'm reading from is a blog that I had wrote that is actually on my employer's blog. So I'll give the link to that in the blog talk and on the YouTube. But so the suggestions were that the CHA, the Chicago Housing Authority Plan for Transformation in 2010, the plan demolished the CHA projects. This caused traditional gangs to diffuse into surrounding neighborhoods, creating cliques. Then drug related violence became more prevalent. That was on the west side. So economic poverty is a factor. And this is like high levels of homicide that are persisting in Chicago, as in like the Rust Belt cities. So not just Chicago. When we talk about the factor of economic poverty, other cities that is in the Rust Belt cities like Detroit, St. Louis, Cleveland, and Memphis, like they are having these economic issues too. And so we can dive into that. And I think the mayor often talks about how a lot of the manufacturing and a lot of jobs were pulled out of the cities like Chicago. And so they don't have a lot of the jobs available. So what this group of individuals suggests is there needs to be a shift in intervention techniques. Most violence is not drug related. Intervention should focus on the mediation of interpersonal conflict and conflict resolution among youth. So what does that say? What does that say? So disinvestment is one of the main issues. So we need to begin to reinvest in these communities. But also in reinvesting in these communities is not just financial. It is also giving people the tools that they need to de-escalate situations themselves, to be able to handle anger management issues and things like that. So when I talk about getting back involved in the communities, or if I say anything about it and I speak on investment, it is like a wide spectrum of what investment represents for communities like these that we love so much and that we were once a part of, and actually building relationships with our brothers and sisters in these communities and our youth in these communities. And I really do think that a part of me wants to say that I think that that is much, 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 much more important than just giving them jobs. Because when you invest in a person, when you invest in people, when you show them that they're worth you showing up and just having a conversation, how are you doing? What's going on with you? What are your dreams? What are your goals? All the other stuff is good, but when you really truly invest in people, like sometimes they'll see their worth, I believe. And when they start seeing their worth, then they won't go out and do some of the things that they do. Now, I work with youth, and I know that it can get revved up and it can get wild. But I've also seen youth get to that point where they're revved up and wild, and I've seen them, like a certain face will show up. And I have a story, but I don't think to finalize the thing on the conversation on the violence. I just want to make sure that I close that topic out properly. I will say that according to an examination by the U.S. Department of Justice, there was a Chicago-based violence prevention program that focused on changing the behavior of a small number of carefully selected members. Found the impact that this particular group had on shootings and killings, and their impact. It turned out that you know having that type of connection with young people in the community caused the killings. There was also a finding in the company that I worked for, in one of our data briefs, that there was a significant shift in gang homicide patterns, including a decline in gang involvement in homicide and retaliatory killings attributed to this particular group being hands-on. So, I mean, it matters. Those connections that you have with young people, they definitely matter. And I will say that until I'm blue in the face, that those relationships matter, because they do. And so my computer slowed down on me for some reason. Things are changing and I don't know why. So there's a poverty plan that the mayor has in place that she's focusing on. And so I would encourage you to take a look at the poverty plan that she has in place. Um, and it's talking about mostly like investing in the community, getting things, being involved, like I was just saying. And let's see, I wanted to say economic recovery. Kind of lost my page here. My internet is acting up on me. So yeah, so just her economic recovery plan, because she has a plan to, she believes that in this generation that poverty can be eradicated. And a lot of people think that it's crazy, but you have to think crazy and kind of illogical when you want things to change and to shift. So she has a plan out there. It's a four-part plan. I can't pull it up right now. It's a four-part poverty plan that she's talking about reducing the expenses, the city budget, that includes addressing high cost of utilities for low income residents. And she's also talking about quality jobs to increase income levels. And of course, we all know that the minimum wage will be increasing in 2021. So all of these things that she's doing to, and that's just two parts of her plan, but that she's doing to begin to eradicate poverty. It can happen overnight, and that can change overnight. It's a process, and we all kind of have to care enough to participate in helping the city overcome some of these issues. And there's a lot of them, like even health disparity. That is a huge problem, especially now with COVID-19. So yeah, get involved. Go back and get involved in the community and love on people. I say that all the time, don't I? Love on people. I'm kind of upset that my internet started acting up on me, but I'm gonna keep it moving because that's what I have to do, right? But it's all good. It's all great. And so now I'm going to move